Good morning, everyone. My name is Sobir Kurbanov. I'm Program Director at the Center for International Private Enterprise, an affiliate of U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And today we're going to speak about the future of the B5+1 process. And I'll give a short overview of what is B5+1, and then introduce our speakers, ask them each provide the short statements, and then we'll have a Q&A. So that's the run of show of our panel, and thank you so much once again to the CAMCA for inviting us to join this amazing event. We are delighted, we are honored to be here. CIPE and CAMCA, we are sharing the common vision and common mission to promote leadership in business and basically address key economic priorities of Central Asia and the broader CAMCA region. Each year, CAMCA fellows come and visit us in CIPE office in DC, and we have a great, amazing conversation about their work, the priorities, brainstorm about various reforms and investment opportunities in the region. And it's always a very amazing and productive conversation. So that's how our partnership evolved over the years, and this year, CIPE was assigned to lead the first B5+1 forum. And what is B5+1? B5+1 is a business analog of Central Asia United States Diplomatic Engagement Platform, which was launched in 2015 in Samarkand by Secretary Kerry. At that time, C5+1 has a distinct priority to promote economic and investment connectivity, energy connectivity, women economic empowerment, people-to-people connections. And the presidents of Central Asia and the United States committed during the New York Declaration last year to launch the B5+1, a public-private dialogue platform among the United States and Central Asia to promote business connectivity, investments, and regional economic integration in Central Asia. And CIPE was assigned to deliver the first B5+1 forum. The first B5+1 forum took place this March in Almaty. It was an amazing gathering of around 300 people representing 5 countries, various international economic organizations, international development agencies, multilateral development banks, EU, EBRD, USAID, World Bank, and I just wanted to mention, and we had an amazing discussion, conversation, identified different priorities, and our speakers here played a very essential role actually to drive this as a grassroots-driven, business-driven, public-private dialogue platform. The key distinction, the vision we have for the B5+1 is that it is led by the business. It is owned by the local organizations and experts, such as CAMCA, such as business associations we work with. And we've identified 5 priority sectors: transport, logistics, agriculture, tourism, electronic commerce, and green energy. We formed the task forces, and we talk about this work a little bit in a moment. And basically, last thing I wanted to mention that everybody's, the forum kind of stressed that B5+1 in more than 5. It's not just Central Asia and the United States. By making Central Asia stronger and better integrated as a market, as a kind of space, economic space, social space, people space, Central Asia is a better position to leverage international attention, international investments from whoever they want and whoever they choose. It could be China, it could be Turkey, Middle East, Europe, United States, and we are here to support that kind of integration process as a key priority of the United States government and as a key priority of C5+1 process. And with this, I would introduce our amazing speakers. I'll start with Fuat. Fuat Karimov is a corporate executive, finance and governance professional from Azerbaijan. Fuat has had amazing experience in audit. For more than 20 years, he was leading audit worked with the board of committees, consulted various industries, supported APOs, mergers, acquisitions, practices, management information system implementation. Fuat is also a very knowledgeable expert on Azerbaijan. And as I mentioned, B5+1 is more than 5, so we will, in a moment, we will seek Fuat's views on the value of Azerbaijan in kind of wider Eurasian integration, I would say. And I'll quickly introduce other speakers, and then we will proceed with questions. Marina Kuznechevskaya is Executive Director of Flydubai. She is an amazing leader, business leader from the region, and also she leads the work of the, so she's a transport logistics professional, but she's also a director of, co-founder of, a chairwoman of Women on Board Institute of Central Asia. She is Forbes' best female CEO in Kazakhstan. Yeah, Marina, thank you so much. Then we will have Muktar Jumaliev. And Muktar is an amazing expert in WTO. Kyrgyzstan is the first country which succeeded WTO back in 1999, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. So Muktar was the first ambassador of Kyrgyzstan in WTO Secretariat in Geneva. And he led our work of transport logistics subgroup under the B5+1. And the transport logistics is obviously a very critical sector to harmonize trade and transport and reduce the barriers and costs of trade and transit in Central Asia, those contributing to regional economic integration. And the last speaker, we have another speaker, sorry, not last but not least, Mansurjon Rasulov is head of key technical expert, professional with extensive experience in public administration, investment, international trade, agriculture, and PPP in Uzbekistan. Mansurjon works as a deputy head of Foreign Investment Council under the president of Republic of Uzbekistan. Mansurjon had a great experience with USAID agribusiness. He is basically agribusiness expert and the lead expert of our agribusiness B5+1 subgroup on agribusiness. And the last speaker we have here, joining us from Dushanbe. Hi, Alisher. It's good to see you. Yeah, you and me were two Tajiks here at the CAMCA forum, but Alisher is our lead technical expert on the B5+1 subgroup on tourism. Tourism is another low-hanging fruit, and everybody spoke about tourism yesterday, and I think we can definitely, by positioning Central Asia as one common regional market for tourism, we can definitely contribute to the economic prosperity of the region. So, yeah, with this, I will start with my first question and give a floor to Fuat. Fuat, you, yeah, as I mentioned, B5+1 is more than 5, and yes. Azerbaijan has strongly intensified its effort in regional integration with Central Asia. We see the intensity of meetings among the leaders of Central Asia and Azerbaijan. So tell us a little bit more what you think and what you see, the kind of what Azerbaijan could bring to the Central Asia economic integration, what are unique opportunities, and how helpful it could be for Azerbaijan and also for Central Asia. And specifically, maybe you can mention, because Azerbaijan will be hosting COP summit this year in Baku, and exactly. that shows the commitment of Azerbaijan towards climate agenda. So maybe you can mention about sustainable infrastructure or climate risks for the region, energy transition, anything you think is relevant. Thank you so much. Floor to you.
Thank you very much, Sobir, dear fellow panelists, dear guests. Thank you for this opportunity. It was a great introduction, which pretty much covered all the aspects and importance of C5, B5. And we, as a partner, as Azerbaijan, who see a great value in this initiative, also believe that it has a great prosperity and also need to be extended. In our opinion, that if we look at the complete picture from C5, B5, through the South Caucasus to the Black Sea, that's what we can see the greater added value to all the participants and all the partners across the region. You touched upon important aspects like energy security. That's also as alternative corridor for the route from the Asia market to the European Western market. You talk about the sustainability, important factors we will touch upon today, because it's also important for us to consider the climate change, the issues around the Caspian region and all the nations that surround that sea. And we believe that it should be extended in a better partnership. We're not proposing right away to name it C5 plus South Caucasus right away, but if we want to see the complete picture, you need to leverage on the certain resources and infrastructure that are already in place. If you look at the middle corridor, Only based on the data I have in Azerbaijan, over the past 2 years, more than doubled the cargo traffic through the middle corridor. And 70% of that actually represents non-oil and gas sector. Baku-Tbilisi cars, the railway, another aspect which also perfectly fits into the infrastructure that we described. Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan, which has been in operation for more than a decade, is also another opportunity for us to build up this route from the Central Asia market through Azerbaijan, through South Caucasus, Georgia, Black Sea, and going to the European markets. So a lot of other areas that we need to cover today. But of course, there are also issues and challenges we need to address. Apart from the cases that you mentioned, there is a significant investment is needed. I think the last year, the World Bank issued a report saying that for middle corridor to be a successful, another $3.5 billion should be invested into infrastructure, into traffic capacity. One of the issues we are facing now also in Baku shipyards is that decreasing level of the Caspian Sea has also changed our operation, changed the logistic, and we need to address it. We plan to actually make sure that it should be one of the important agenda items at COP29, which Baku will be hosting a few months from now. But again, it's a very collaborative work, and we as a team, as a broader partners, should address that. I have a few more points, but I think my fellow panelists can add something, and then we'll have it more interactive and discuss details. Thank you.
Thank you, Fuad. It has been very interesting, especially in the context of the investments needed. And later probably I will ask you, but yeah, I'll go to this later, yeah, because that's a very exciting conversation indeed. Now I give a floor to Marina. We're moving across the Caspian Sea to Kazakhstan, to the port of Aktau, and then basically cover this amazing country of Azerbaijan, definitely a leader of Central Asia integration, and especially leader in attracting the American investments. Marina, I would like to ask you to talk a little bit about the work you've done as part of the CIPE program on improving the business environment in fostering national business agenda, and especially the work you've done for the B5+1 process as part of your great assessment of the transport logistics industry in Central Asia. And also this assessment touched upon the specific issues and barriers for women who are working in the industry of the transport logistics. Maybe you can shed a little light on the specific barriers for women entrepreneurship in the context of your experience and the sector of concern. Thank you so much, Marina.
Thank you, Sobir. It's an honor to be here. I learned a lot about CAMCA community. It's like a real power. So as a representative of business, I see a lot of opportunities for us as a representative of B5+1 to be here, because we are a community of experts and we need an engine. An engine is a CAMCA. We can conduct survey, we represent business, we're working on the field, we know the real problem. CIPE initiated IBECA program initiative. It's a working group which distribute our knowledge and creating some recommendations for the government. We're very successful in Kazakhstan and also in Tajikistan. And due to our work, after 6 months, we pushed our government in Kazakhstan to change the transportation law. But for example, if we start to cooperate with CAMCA, who has a lot of representatives in our government, I suppose that our changes could be kind of pushed better and faster. So we're really looking forward to this opportunity to cooperate with you. We also, LAD Alumni program, which was supported by CIPE last year. And based on this program, we have created some little community too. And going back to WiLAT, Women in Logistics and Transport, is one of the oldest associations in Central Asia. We reached 10 years last year, and we conducted survey market assessment for CIPE last year. We were conducting surveys about investment potential for American investors in Central Asia, because currently our region is going through global changes due to Russian invasions. And what we recognize, we need a lot of investments in infrastructure, in green logistics, in education. For example, middle corridor is a great initiative, but we need to create more transparency between the global players, because each country working with a great margin, and we need to create some harmonization documents, some legislation which will lead all the 5 big players to some assumptions how to work together, because currently each country is doing their best to participate in this project, and a lot of investments are looking forward to invest in this project. But from Kazakhstanian side, we have lack of railway communication, we have lack of infrastructure, we have lack of warehouses in between China and Kursk port at the Kazakhstan. And for example, if we're going back to cargo aviation, Kazakhstan is facing a lot of challenges because main airports are under the control of Turkish investors and also Arabic investors. Uzbekistani airport are also development. Last year they opened 6 airlines, not only passengers but also cargo. Kazakhstani government is working on creation of some working group to triple the cargo capacity of local airlines and transit corridors from Kazakhstan from China to Kazakhstan and Europe then. So we see that CIPE and our working group can really distribute our knowledge and expertise within Central Asia. Based on our survey, we also we also can see that railway in Kyrgyzstan is developing very tremendously now, and they're looking forward to create some additional corridors between China and Europe through Kyrgyz Republic, avoiding Kazakhstani territory. And we are also looking to develop public-private dialogue through IBECA group, and this cooperation with CAMCA will be very fruitful for us. And going back to gender balance in logistics, logistics is mainly a man-dominated industry, and currently we're looking forward to build new generation of logistic experts, female generation experts, and we need education program, exchange program. So our ladies who are afraid to work with logistics, they will see the potential, they will see the role models, they will see the future, how ladies works in Asia, in US, in Canada. That's why we are trying to create some new trainings together with CIPE, together with other donors and organizations, because Central Asia logistics is one of the proactive sectors. Sometimes we are reactive, but most of the time we proactive because we need to react very fast to all the global changes, to all the influence from abroad, from different structures. So this is it from my side.
Thank you so much, Marina. It's been very interesting, and thanks for talking a little bit more about your work as part of the B5+1 process, the market assessment you've produced, and that actually greatly informed the recommendations of our B5+1 forum. We've realized that, and we talked a little bit more about with Muktar later on, but the cost of trade and transit in Central Asia is on average 80% higher than anywhere else in the world. And this is a very striking number, and we've been even challenging with the source, and we showed the World Bank report that actually confirmed this number. So I think this is very important to address the issue of harmonization and the trade and non-trade barriers, and harmonizing the trade regimes, different trade policies and trade agreements in Central Asia to foster the connectivity, absolutely. And you're a business person, you worked with the sector, and you know these priorities as no one else. I will now pass the floor, we'll now switch to agriculture. Mansur John, you led the work of our subgroup on agriculture, and agriculture is a absolutely low-hanging fruit for regional integration in Central Asia. I was told you did a great moderation of our subgroup meeting in Tashkent back last November. Sorry, it was September. And the one thing I heard that the business representatives associations from Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan involved in agriculture, they found it very valuable, this dialogue platform. And then tell us a bit more about the kind of priorities they've come up, what we can do to position agriculture as a very competitive made in Central Asia product, which could be easily exported. We saw yesterday these amazing strawberries, and I even posted immediately on Facebook from Tilek that it could be an export product for Central Asia. But we also realized that the United States is probably far away market for agriculture products but they could be also exported to Europe, to China, anywhere, and it could generate huge economic gains for the Central Asians, also for rural communities, also for women who work for strawberry fields, for example. So, floor to you. Tell us about the opportunities for agriculture and how we can address this through the B5+1 in the future. Thank you so much.
Exactly, Sobir. There is a question that we always ask: if we have such a great produce here in Central Asia, whether that fruits or something else, why we're not the global leaders in the global markets? And to answer this question and other challenges that we have and facing the agribusiness sector in the region, we held that forum. And the objective of that forum was to bring people, experts from across the region who are engaged in agribusiness so they could talk about the challenges they face. Those people who are more or less aware of the agriculture sector know that in Central Asia, all these 5 countries are vastly different from each other from the perspective of resources. For instance, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, they have vast water resources, but little farmland. While in Uzbekistan, it's the opposite. We're lacking water to expand to our farmland. And while all these countries are so different, when the experts were talking, they were all mentioning all the same issues, despite the vast differences between the countries. Where Kyrgyzstan is the first country in the region to privatize agricultural land with the strongest private ownership. Yet, agribusinesses from Kyrgyzstan face the same challenges as the agribusinesses in Uzbekistan that don't have private ownership for land. So there is no simple solution. And through this event, while we were discussing what are the challenges, how we can overcome them, we came to one simple conclusion. The Central Asia's region the countries within the region have their own competitive advantages. Sometimes they're absolute advantages. No one in the region can compete with Kazakhstan in grains production. I'll give you a very simple example with Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. We in Uzbekistan built many greenhouses to produce vegetables throughout the autumn and winter. But we don't have enough of natural gas. So a lot of them are now facing they're losing money because IFIs, private investors, all invested into this. We don't have natural gas. But Turkmenistan, they have natural gas enough to produce vegetables throughout the winter and autumn season at scale. And these are the competitive advantages that we here in the region are failing to take the full advantage of. So that was the main message that we came to as a result of that forum. And why do we need to take the best use of our competitive advantages? First and foremost, resource. The water scarcity is more and more relevant in the region. And every country has to take this from their personal perspective of the country. But if we create a single market of food within the Central Asia, the countries upstream will not look at the distribution of water resources as just only the single country perspective. They will understand that it will influence the food market of the whole region. And how do we do this? It's a great aspiration that we've been talking for some day already, how to integrate, how to become one. And answering this question, our first solution is to eliminate all trade barriers within the Central Asia on food. Why is this important? The agribusinesses would be able to freely exchange the goods within the country and depart from this old mindset of self-sufficiency. We have this from the planned economy of the Soviet Union, the intention to produce everything internally and be self-sufficient. But the world is different. And in fact, no country in the region, because of the disposition how resources are distributed, can be self-sufficient and at the same time build its exports, maintain its position on the global market. It's virtually impossible. The global leaders in food security, in ensuring security of their population, they don't do everything within their countries, in fact. The next recommendation we had to facilitate and turn the Central Asia into the powerhouse, global powerhouse in agricultural markets, is to eliminate all existing barriers for technologies. And the production in processing, the objective is to become resilient to climate change. The intensive production technologies are far more resilient to the changes in temperature or the extreme situations with precipitation. And we need to produce higher value goods. We were just talking about logistics, how logistics are on average far more inaccessible, much more expensive in Central Asia. How do we overcome this? Can we change the geography? No, we can't. But instead, we can produce higher value goods that are less susceptible to the high cost of logistics. I'll give you one example. One producer in Uzbekistan that we supported when I used to work for USAID agribusiness development activity, they sublimate Uzbek fruits. And sublimated, they lose 98% of their weight. And they're easy to store after they have been packed. And they're selling their product on Amazon. And they're shipping and using the aircraft transport. And it's okay because it is light, and it has minimum storage requirements, and it's expensive on the target market. So these were our recommendations to depart from the self-sufficiency mindset, and instead of trying to compete for conventional markets up north, think how we can at the same time ensure the food security and in our global positions on the food markets, become the agribusiness powerhouse. And all these discussions that we're having on integration, on different aspects, they all sound nice, something we aspire to. Let me tell you this, in terms of agriculture, it is absolute need. The water scarcity is growing, the population is growing, the Afghanistan has its growing, let's say, requests for the joint water use of the Amudarya, for instance. It is existential need for these countries of the Central Asia to integrate their food markets. Otherwise, I'm afraid the next conflicts that will arise in this region, they may be around the agriculture, around water, and around food. We need to prevent this through the integration process. I won't take any more time, Sobir. Over to you. Thanks.
Mansur John, thank you so much for your amazing work as part of our subgroup, and we really hope that we can continue driving this conversation and agenda of regional integration in agriculture. Absolutely. The climate, water scarcity, that all calls for integration in agriculture practices, climate-friendly, sustainable practices. And I also want to recall that during the last Trade and Central Asia Forum, which took place in Almaty, organized by United States Agency for International Development, there were some specific recommendations and also advice for regional trade promotion of agriculture products, which are perishable, that really requires fast and quick actions to eliminate trade and non-trade barriers. With this, I would like to pass the floor to Muktar Jumaliev, our great expert in WTO and the leader of our subgroup on transport logistics. Again, back to transport logistics, it seems to be a very key industry. Muktar, maybe I would like to ask you about your experience of working with us to support Kyrgyzstan national business agenda in transport logistics, and your impression from the B5+1 forum and where you see the future of that kind of regional public-private dialogue platform in your respective industry. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sobir, and once again, all our guests, welcome to Kyrgyzstan, and it's a great pleasure and honor to be in this panel. And for IBECA and for our project, I think it's also a great chance to speak about the integration process of Central Asian countries and the responses for yesterday's question. What is the barriers for integration and how to integrate in the Central Asia? I think it's our project gives response for that question. We already started the work on the integration process because in the project of IBECA, we tried to unite all the business associations and to discuss the barriers. And we developed different groups, and one group on agriculture, one group on transport logistics. There is a group on tourism sector. We also developed 5 national agendas during this project. And our response is the approach itself of our project IBECA is to bring the business associations of Central Asia together. And as a former diplomat, for me, I think it was for IBECA project to use my skills to sit together with the business associations and to discuss the barriers. And it never happened before. And within the IBECA project, we developed this because our business associations, they did not believe for us that we can bring the transport association to sit together and to develop the recommendations, common recommendations for the Central Asian governments to discuss the barriers and how to remove the barriers. And we developed our transport and logistics recommendations for the governments on the consensus-based decision. Different approaches. All the countries complain on each other that they put the barriers. They put the barriers. Kazakh transporters, they also have problems. Kyrgyzstanis has problems. Uzbek transporters has problems because we are landlocked, and the only way to go to European market for us is to cross all these countries to Kazakhstan, then Russia. Russia is not an option these days for us. That is why the only route is the middle corridor. But our transport companies, they complain on middle corridor. They speak about the northern corridor which goes through Uzbekistan to Turkmenistan. And finally, our recommendations is to have different possible corridors to develop in order to get through the Caspian Sea and South Caucasus, which actually finally will bring to the prosperity of two main regions, Central Asia and South Caucasus. I think when we find these two corridors, these two regions unite together, and CAMCA gives us really best platform to talk about, to see each other, to talk to the people, because at the beginning I did not understand why CAMCA and why IBECA project we talk together. But now I understand that this is really good start, good approach. The region is different. We apply different laws and legislations because in Central Asia, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, they are not a member to the WTO. So for us, the transit regime through Uzbekistan is not predictable because you can change your transit regimes whenever you want. So that is why the shortest, what we discussed, the shortest way for the integration to remove barriers, to harmonize our transit regimes based on the international rules and legislation, this is WTO. My colleague from Uzbekistan, Mansur John, he do not believe on WTO and WTO legislation, but I said not. The accession is the different process, but we have to harmonize our transit regimes based on the international rules, which is WTO. So WTO rules on transit, so it's clear. So we can bring this legislation, bring these articles and regulations into our regional agreement. This is the shortest way to integrate. And IBECA project, it's a great project for the future. I think because the first forum in Almaty, but before, I want to say I was involved in EU Central Asia Economic Forum. The difference is that EU Central Asia Economic Forum, it united just politics.
Governments.
Yeah, governments. And the businesses was outside of the room. But B5+1, it was the business running, the business association running. We invited the government into our session, and they were listening the businesses. So this is the difference, and I think this is important that we were able to do that. And I want to congratulate all the team who contributed to the work, and I enjoyed also to work with the team of IBECA. My colleagues Asel and Kanike, they were working hard. Also, thank you very much, and for me it was a pleasure to work. The future is to make a rotation-based this platform, don't to lose this opportunity to discuss. Right. And transport and logistics is one of the sensitive area for all Central Asian countries. If you come from Almaty to Kyrgyzstan, it's very difficult to say that we are in the Eurasian Economic Union. So there is a very strong border. You have to cross. You have to wait for 1 hour in order to cross this border. So I think for myself, I cannot say that we are in the union. For example, for me, maybe it's easier to go to Uzbekistan, to cross the border, where we are not a member to the union. But this is the political will, political relations, which is good. This gives us very good opportunity to cross to each other. But it should be based on the international rule and international law. So I want to stop here, and maybe I will answer the questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Muktar, for highlighting the role of CIPE and also our program. So the B5+1 was part of our, still part of CIPE implemented program on improving the business environment. That's what we call IBECA. It's implemented by the funding from the US Department of State. So it is important to see this kind of platform as part of the programmatic umbrella, so where we produce recommendations, facilitate the work of subgroups, and the future we're having for the B5+1 is actually to leverage stronger networking and partnership with the experts. And we see the CAMCA as one of the key hub of these experts, where we can form an experts council under the regional integration platform, where you would provide recommendations to business on what kind of policies needs to be taken, what kind of alternative solutions. We spoke yesterday about the model of ASEAN, where everybody says that ASEAN is a great model for Central Asia, and Ambassador Vahobov, Dr. Starr were talking about this. Yeah, we're in a kind of search of this best model for Central Asia regional economic integration, which would be conducive to the kind of process and open to business. That's what we're trying to do for the B5+1. It business talking to the government, not vice versa. So it's kind of a new model of public-private dialogue for Central Asia. Thank you so much. And now I pass the floor to our last speaker on the panel from Tajikistan, Alisher Shirlazarov. Hi, Alisher. It's good to see you and hope all is well in Dushanbe. Alisher was a key expert of our B5 subgroup on tourism. So, and he had a great insights on the opportunity which tourism holds for Central Asia, also to position Central Asia to the rest of the world. We know that Central Asia has a great tourism attractions, but some international tourists, they cannot easily travel across the borders. There's idea for Central Asia, Schengen. There is also idea for kind of made in Central Asia. We also see the increase in domestic tourism in Central Asia. Lots of Tajiks now and Kyrgyz people traveling to Uzbekistan to see amazing cultural, historic attractions. So Samarkand and Bukhara and Khiva and vice versa. So there was also great boost in ecotourism here in Kyrgyzstan, mountain tourism. So Alisher, can you please tell us a little bit more about the work you've done under our subgroup on tourism? You had a great engagements and meetings also on the Samarkand Tourism Forum, and but I don't want to talk for you. I definitely leave it to you to share your insights on the tourism opportunity of tourism for Central Asia region economic integration, and how we can continue supporting this for our B5+1 process. Thank you so much.
Indeed, thank you very much, Mr. Sobir, and all the participants. I'm very happy to see virtually all of you, and I hope that you are enjoying with this truly regional, and I would say a global event, basically, which unites all of us with the unequal history, culture, and faith, and most important, friendship that we have built so far. And if we're talking about the tourism, I think everybody in this room will totally agree that, you know, all the previous subjects that we have been discussing can be joined within tourism. So tourism can serve as a large umbrella for all of these sectors, which will basically unites. And if we talk about the tourism development in the world, so it's becoming a really, really large-scale global industry. And if you look at the global, international, very developed destinations, so it's becoming a really, truly supportive national income of most countries. And if you look at the, for example, UNTWO, and based on their research, it says to cater one tourist, so you need to have at least 9 people to serve this. So at least to serve one tourist, you need to have 9 job places. So if we translate this data into currently Central Asia, so it's really, really, we are far beyond. So it's like about 3 to 4 people at the moment serving. However, I'm talking about the regional number. So if you, we all know that, you know, the Central Asia has a really, really rich history, amazing natural resources, and it has something to show the world. And basically, Central Asia has a huge potential to be pitched in this global market of tourism and basically get the attention of tourists. And at the moment, the penetration of the tourism in the Central Asian GDP is really low, unfortunately, and it gives a good sense of feeling that, you know, there's a huge gap at the moment and we have a really huge opportunity to grow. And if we basically talk about the tourism itself, the development of the tourism in Central Asia, I mean, competing as each, let's say, separate country from the Central Asia to the world to attract the, you know, the tourists, it's really difficult, and most importantly, it's very expensive. So one of the ways to bring all the efforts jointly and try to, like, you know, trying to promote the Central Asia as a unique place to visit basically gives more opportunity, not to benefit only one country, but also all 5 countries. And plus, not just the country or the region, but also it can serve as a bridge or as a link to other, like, you know, regions. And perhaps we are talking about the CAMCA, so for example, they can go to Eurasia, so some other regions that are very close by. So during our research at the IBECA program and the regional level, so we have been attending so many events, regional events, and we have been talking to many industry players, ecosystem players, and we found out that one of the main, I would say, the kind of, you know, difficulties, the challenges at the moment is that the regional stakeholders believe that, you know, if they will create something called a unique Central Asia destination campaign, which will basically, let's say, make really good sound of a region to bring more people, it will really help to benefit for all the countries. Like, you know, synerging the efforts in the tourism marketing, a single brand, or cultural or historical tourism that can basically unite all of us. And another thing is that, unfortunately, due to some difficulties and exchange of information between the participants, the market is sort of, you know, isolated or kind of, you know, split into the pieces. So sometimes it's very difficult to bring all of them into one platform, which could basically serve as a reliable source of data, and most importantly, not just data, but also actual data, because we know that the most of the things are happening and changing. For example, a couple of months ago, Tajikistan has introduced, I mean, they gave a sort of, to promote the tourism to more than 65 countries, like a free visa entry. So they can, the older people from the 65 countries can easily come to Tajikistan with no visa, with no, I mean, they can get the visa on arrival, and it's really easy regime to kind of, you know, enter the country and basically be as a tourist. So it's very important to have institutionalize a sort of exchange platform that will help all of our tourists who are coming to the Central Asia kind of, you know, so they will be equipped with the latest and with the actual data, and they can follow the rules and basically to use the infrastructure. Another thing is very important and crucial is if you look at the like global players in the globally, for example, like Turkey and some other countries, they have a very good public-private partnership to increase the investment potential of a tourism industry. So basically, what is really lacking in our countries, in Central Asia, is still we don't have this quite kind of clear and I would say a common approaches or specific approaches, government, the public, and the basically private sector to merge and give, let's say, the facilities, I mean, the historical, the tourist facilities to the private sector so that they can run in a best and better way. And basically this will hugely, I would say, help the local budgets to subsidize and basically kind of, you know, free their spendings on maintenance of these facilities. And another thing, what's really, really important that and as you have already mentioned, Mr. Sobir, that most of the people, that I mean Western tourists, when they come to, for example, to Uzbekistan as a first country to enter the Central Asia, they basically want to travel to other countries. But unfortunately, sometimes they face a difficulty to get another visa. So once you come to Uzbekistan, when you want to go to Kyrgyzstan, so you probably need another visa. From Kyrgyzstan, you want to go to Kazakhstan or Tajikistan, so you need another visa. So this long chain of getting and approvals and all this type, it's really kind of, creates a difficulty. And
Alisher, I'm so
basically,
sorry, I would like
tourists
to ask
are
you
the
to wrap
people,
up.
yeah. Tourists are the people of ad hoc. Like they have a good mood. Okay, let's go to this mountain. Okay, we saw this mood. Let's go to, for example, some places for hunting in Kyrgyzstan, or some, I don't know, to see some of the lakes of other countries. So it's all about the providing this, the feeling or environment when the tourist feels more like, freedom of choice, and most importantly, the variety. Once the variety is, there's several varieties, so they will have more opportunities to travel.
Thank you.
And last not least, the tourism sector basically is a good, I would say, industry, which basically unites, as I told you, so many other industries like a financial industry, a healthcare, transport and logistics. So
Alisher, thank you so much. I have to interrupt you because we're over the time for our panelist statement.
So
thanks for.
I hope that this forum, today's event, will also help us to find the this intersecting points and basically to pick up all those, let's say, tackling topics.
Thanks so much, Alisher. Yeah, I apologize, I have to interrupt you, and yeah, thanks for your overview that indeed tourism holds amazing potential for Central Asia, and the opportunity is enormous, and also we need to address very practical barriers in terms of tourism infrastructure, in terms of visa, especially for tourists and investors. So easily a tourist or investor coming from overseas or outside of the region could be granted a visa for the whole of the region, and that would absolutely be a boost to investment attractiveness and tourism attractiveness of Central Asia. I would like now to ask a couple of questions to our speakers, and then we will open floor for discussion. We, as part of our B5+1, we formed a subgroup on e-commerce, and we had an amazing panel yesterday with our digital economy experts from Google, from strategists. And my question goes to Marina and Bayus, and also maybe to Muktar, sorry, and also Mansour and anyone else who wants to say what you see, what the opportunity hold the digital solutions, AI, that's now what kind of all these hot topics, and technologies to advance connectivity and integration, innovation in transport logistic industry, in agriculture, even the kind of in the management of a middle corridor, and yeah, and then whoever wants to start.
I think that digitalization is one of the key factors of development of middle corridor. When we're talking about one window policy, about harmonization of all processes, sometimes we forget that in all Central Asia countries, the speed of internet is different. In Kazakhstan, we used to have this super high-speed internet. In Turkmenistan is dramatically slow. So if you're talking about one window, about digital documentation, we don't need to forget that even we think that everything is already settled based on our reports, based on governmental reports, based on these genius systems which are already in Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan, this electronic government, we still will face problems. So, for example, long queuing, even your document is already somewhere in IL, in some cloud systems, your truck still need to be wait in the long line because it's connections between IL, it's connection between internet speed, and it's connection between infrastructures. And for now, it's unbalanced, like completely unbalanced. It doesn't matter what kind of rules we will create, that ladies first, okay, ladies first, but there is only one road. You cannot to make anyone an additional space. So first we need to create like ecological infrastructures. I'm not talking about green technology, but about green logistics. It must be like physical roads. It must be physical terminals. And then we can talk about digitalizations.
Yeah.
Because for now, we're talking about like different points.
If you leave Almaty or Astana,
there is no connection.
There is no connection.
Yeah,
Internet
Almaty,
is very slow.
Astana, and I was
Same
lucky
in other
enough
parts of.
to be at Kulyab presentation. So it's like a fastest road between China and Europe, only 76 kilometers. So we were expecting something like glorious, but it was like a little station in between of nowhere in Tajikistan. It was all about digital. There is no internet, so whatever is presented, it will never work. So let's be realistic. First infrastructure, then digitalization.
If I may also add a few points, I totally agree with Marina, and I think Dr. Jumaliev also mentioned about that. I mean, look at the middle corridor, how many borders you have to cross. And that means also customs, and it means delays. And in order for the middle corridor to remain competitive or become competitive, we need to digitalize the custom procedures, we need to digitalize operations in logistics at the ports. There is an international e-tier system, which actually supposed to facilitate that process. It's lacking certain investment. And on the top of that, if you take experience from the European Union a couple of decades ago, the unification of tariff systems also should be transparent and should be set. Because at the end of the day, we have a great relationship across the Central Asia, South Caucasus. But at the end of the day, when it comes to economics, we need to make sure that tariff systems are unified. It still becomes financially feasible as well. So we need to put efforts into that aspect as well. And I think CAMCA is one of the best platforms to initiate these dialogues. Thanks.
And Serjan, maybe you can share a bit about your great idea of using IT solutions in agriculture.
Digital and agriculture are usually perceived something opposite, right, in the dogmas. But today in Uzbekistan, the government of Uzbekistan has introduced a system of satellite crop monitoring. It sounds nice, something that goes as an added value, but it's absolute need because finally we're able to know who is growing what is being grown in the country. And it's important in the face of the climate change, growing population, and all the crises that we're facing, because now you can know that you will have scarcity of specific products 6 months in advance, because you know that there was a drought and there is the vegetation issue happening on that specific field, in a specific area, and you can take measures to alleviate the crises on the food markets beforehand. You can use digital solutions to control pests. You can use digital solutions to improve the human capital in agriculture sector. But unfortunately, there are existing legal barriers to adopt these technologies and infrastructure issues. In Uzbekistan, we have essential ban on use of drones in agriculture sector. And I do understand the security concerns, especially now when we see the uptake of UAVs in other, let's say, sectors. But I know at the same time that in the United States, there is the ongoing effort of the Federal Aviation Administration to introduce an automated system for drone monitoring and drone control. So enforce no-fly zones to introduce these maximum ceilings of the flight of drones, drone registration. And I think the region itself would benefit a lot if as the technology is being developed in the United States, if the technology is also shared within this region, so it can be adopted much quicker in the region.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And Alisher, what is your view on the value of digital and e-commerce solutions to promote tourism in Central Asia?
The digital area will basically enhance the development of this of the tourism industry, as I told before. At the moment, if you look at, for example, what Facebook already offered as a virtual kind of world, this can be also another sort of a good pathways to digitize the attracting ways of tourism, and the digital and using the AI, using the visual kind of platforms can really inspire and motivate people, the tourists, to take actions to come to the countries and visit. So basically, I think this is a good platform to basically push the marketing campaign and reach as much as, I mean, people you can do. For example, by going just a TV broadcasting, so it will give you a very, very small, a limited, let's say, the market audience. But if you are talking about, for example, the, let's say, social media, it get enlarged, like you give a 10x multiple. And hopefully when the new technologies will pump up, I think it will give an incredible, like really huge opportunity. So this is my kind of vision, because it will really serve to help. And also it become a really good kind of tool to get access to the information. For example, you want to travel somewhere, so basically you can easily get the information, what you need to follow to get to from A destination to B destination. Thank you.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, great. The reason I ask this question basically because the CAMCA network, to my understanding, has a great group of experts and leaders from digital economy, and hopefully you will have a great insights how to promote the kind of solutions to regional integration in various sectors using digital solutions in a very innovative way. The new generation, young people, they all very savvy and tech savvy, and absolutely that would increase the attractiveness and openness and for Central Asian integration. We have 19 minutes left in our panel. I would like to open the floor for questions and answers from the audience to our amazing speakers. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions you might have, and yeah, we'll do our best to answer them.
If I may add, Sobir, I'm here.
Sure. Yeah. I'm so sorry, Muktar. Yeah, absolutely.
It was my turn to add on the digitalization, because we had a special group on e-commerce, and there was also a few recommendations, and I think I have to say about that, and I cannot miss this recommendation. In our case, it was a recommendation on payment system for Central Asia, because for each sector, even in tourism, agriculture, transit, so it's very difficult integration in the payment system. We cannot, these days, for example, to buy something from Kazakhstan and then they will bring us. So it's very difficult. That our recommendation was to make an integration in the payment system. And I see that e-bank, M-Bank and Kaspi Bank, they have an agreement, and with two platforms now in Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, we can pay each other and to buy goods and through transport logistic at the border, so we can cross the border and take our goods from the border and to bring into Kyrgyzstan. Another recommendation was the corresponding accounts for the banking sector for Kyrgyzstan. It's very difficult. So we know that no one bank has corresponding accounts to send to buy goods from United States, for example, or even it's very difficult. Or otherwise, we have to go through other banks from Malaysia, or we use different banks, but it is very costly. If we send, for example, $100 to United States, so we have to pay $50 as a commission for the bank. This is also very difficult for Kyrgyzstan. And I think we should work also with the government or with the private banks in United States, that our banks should comply with their requirements, and in order to make the transit of goods and interactions to be easy. And we see that private sectors, they complain a lot about this situation as a locked country, landlocked country, and if you cannot make a transit by road, and there is also difficulties to fly because our planes is blacklisted. So it's very difficult actually to trade with the Western countries. So this was also these all recommendations was in our national business agenda, and I think the advocacy groups works in order to facilitate this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Muktar, especially for reminding us about the discussions we had in Almaty. We had a great two side events, one on AI digital economy, which was facilitated by Google. Olga was yesterday here, and also we formed another subgroup, the financial sector issues subgroup, where we specifically elevated the issues of Central Asia banks in relation to sanctions compliance and access to international correspondent accounts. This is a hot issue, and it's being now addressed, and I know that the United States government is doing its best to explain the rules of the compliance issues to Central Asian banks, and hope it will help address the access of Central Asian banks to international financial markets in compliance with the norms and regulations of United States government. And also, I guess while we're talking about digital solutions, e-commerce platforms, obviously infrastructure is a hot issue, but there's also the issue of cybersecurity and national security, and especially in terms of payment platforms, and et cetera, et cetera. Again, dear CAMCA fellows, feel free to ask any questions. We still have some time on our panel.
So Jim Carafanov from the Heritage Foundation. So listening to the issues and the challenges that the B5+1 are addressing, and the most desirable partners in U.S. and I think also Canada, Europe, and then South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, India. I was wondering, have you ever considered, or do you think the idea of co-hosting forums with other regional groups which are trying to address some of the same challenges? So like when I go to the 3 Seas Initiative discussion, I hear exactly the same kind of discussions that I hear when you talk about the B5. So a lot of you guys are chasing the same people. So I wonder if there's synergy of partnering with some of these other regional groupings which are trying to achieve similar goals, and would that make sense?
Yeah, I can take this question. Perhaps we can gather a couple of more questions and then we can go to answers. Any other questions from the group? No. Okay, let me start answering this question. Thank you so much for your question. Yeah, absolutely. You hit the spot. Yeah, there is activity of the C5+ is actually broadening and expanding these days. There is C5+ UK, C5+ EU, C5+1, the United States. Now there are talks of Saudi Arabia wants to have a C5+1 forum with Central Asia, South Korea, Japan, other nations. Yeah, the way we position B5+1 as an extension of C5+1, but we're also mindful it fits its distinct objectives of the US Central Asia strategy in terms of economic and energy connectivity, but we keep our platform very open to any other players. And at the first B5+1 forum, we actually had guest speakers from the EU who talk about EU Central Asia connectivity, EU investment, EU Central Asia Gateway Fund of 10 billion, the commitments to the Middle Corridor investments. We also had experts and speakers from the World Bank, GIZ, other international development agencies, and there were participants in business from Azerbaijan. So I think our vision for the future is to let business decide whom they want to talk, whom they want to trade, and again, address Central Asia issues of integration, position first, resolve the domestic issues, and then let Central Asia connect with whoever they want. It is definitely not a political platform, it's business platform, and business is open to doing trade to anyone. We had some Turkish investors at the B5+1 who saw the value of the process. Yeah, and I mean, again, there are some ramification on foreign policy and diplomatic sort of level, but for the business, I agree it should be open, and we have to position this as an open platform and multiply the efforts with like-minded OECD, but also non-OECD countries, new emerging markets, new developing nations. Thank you.
Yeah, just to add that, absolutely it does make sense, because the ultimate objective is connectivity, and the connectivity to which destination? It's two new markets. If we talk about Western European markets, then we have to sit at the same platform with all the participants and the stakeholders across that route, whether it's South Caucasus, it's Turkey, it's states around the Black Sea. The answer is yes, they should be participants because they're ultimately stakeholder of that journey, of that pipeline.
Okay. Asking once. Any other questions? We can also finish earlier because we've started later. Rustam?
Good morning. My name is Rustam Baltabayev. I represent the Agriculture Development Association of the Kyrgyz Republic. I'm very pleased to be here at the CAMCA forum in Bishkek. Also, I am not a participant in the program. I am excited to be attending for second time. I am fondly remember my first time 2013 in Sekul when Donald Rumsfeld himself participated. Thank you. My question, do you think it would be appropriate to implement a similar regime like the GSP Plus that Kyrgyzstan has with Europe for the B5+1 countries in Central Asia? If with Central Asia, we look Central Asia market open. Maybe
GSP
Muktar,
Plus.
maybe
Yeah.
Mansour Jan.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for the sake of the coordination, because Europe and Europe is also interested in the Central Asian markets. When we talk about the single market, Kyrgyzstan, of course, it's as ambassador, I was representing my country in Benelux countries, and then as a single ambassador, working with the business people, private sector, I would never attract no one business from the European market. But when we unite together, all Central Asian ambassadors, we host the business forums. So this attracts, of course, the other businesses, because together we are more than 100 million people population in the Central Asia. So this is the huge market for European Union, and same for United States, for example, C5+1. Political will is there. The presidents meet each other. So when we talk B5, so we also should show as a united market with the single rules. The problem, we do not use the single rules in Central Asian markets, and for business is not clear because each country uses different rules, different transit rules, different standardization processes, different privatization processes. So that is why we have to coordinate in Central Asia as a single market, and then it will attract for the investment from the Western countries. And absolutely clear, answering to the previous question, CAMCA countries and Central Asia, so we can unite. As a CAMCA and plus B5 countries, the South Caucasus and the Central Asia. So it's clear, absolutely clear. So there is a win-win for two regions. Absolutely. If we unite together, if we create this single platform for the discussion of businesses, so it's absolutely clear that we can solve the transit problem to Europe. And this is also maybe very important for South Caucasus, because it will bring trade through the South Caucasus to European market, and it's a big market, including Mongolia. Including Mongolia, we can go, we can improve our trade. And this is a good chance, while this situation, geopolitical situations, pushes us to make win-win for South Caucasus and Central Asia. This is my answer, Rustam, for your question.
Thank you, Muktar. And we still have some time, and any other questions? I guess if not, I'll abuse my role as a moderator and ask one question to Mansour. Mansour, we know that Uzbekistan has reinforced and kind of its commitment towards WTO accession. And yesterday, during the visit of US Trade Administrator to Tashkent, the high-level support of US government towards WTO accession to Uzbekistan was reiterated. Do you think that WTO is going to be a real game changer? And what needs to happen to make the WTO accession for Uzbekistan fit the whole Central Asia? Because Uzbekistan has an absolutely central location in Central Asia in terms of connectivity, transit. But we know that going from WTO accession, commitment, accession, and then there is a long process of, and Muktar knows much more about this, the transition period compliance. So where you see the that kind of role of WTO accession for Central Asia economic integration from Uzbekistan?
Earlier, Muktar said that I'm a little bit skeptic about the WTO. In my defense, I want to say that becoming a member of World Trade Organization is absolute must for Uzbekistan, but not the membership itself, but the process of
Exactly.
preparing and harmonizing your legislation is what is bringing the most benefit to Uzbekistan these days. We are rethinking our standards. We are changing our legislation. Recently, there was a major presidential decree that abolished number of subsidies that were granted to state-owned enterprises. And there is a big effort towards the divestment from of the public sector from the economy. This is important. But let's keep in mind that becoming a WTO member is just a milestone towards a bigger objective of creating a harmonized market here in Central Asia and becoming a global powerhouse. Being WTO member is not enough. Being WTO member alone is not enough. And we have seen examples of this during that forum of agribusiness in Tashkent. Between Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, there were disputes on the border, the artificial barriers created for berry exporters during this season because of some issues with the water distribution. And these two countries are the members of WTO and the Eurasian Economic Union. And none of that prevented this situation from. And as Muktar said, we are not WTO members, but we still benefit from the eased exchange of goods and people. So it's not a silver bullet, I would say, but we should stay committed to the process.
Okay, yeah, I fully agree with you. Muktar,
If I, quick reaction for the, because two countries member to the WTO and Eurasian Economic Union does not benefit. But I would say we do benefit, actually. We do benefit from that because there is a dispute settlement process. And my recommendation for the business, please document all your losses during these barriers which exist. Because at the end, each sum will be paid out, will be compensated to the businesses. But we have to make training for the businesses how to document the losses, because two documents, WTO rules and Eurasian Economic Unions, it actually has the process for the compensation. Between Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan, we do not have any platform for the dispute settlement. But with Kazakhstan, we do have in the WTO, and we have several cases in the WTO.
Dispute resolution.
When we face the problems in transit, but many cases were solved before the dispute settlement panel.
Yeah.
And business should document all the losses, both sides in the WTO, because one day we will come to the dispute settlement process, and the WTO will solve, and Eurasian Economic Union, of course, this is so far the political organization. This is not an economic organization. There's no cases we have in the Eurasian Economic Union, but we all are the member to the WTO, and WTO has dispute settlement process, and we know the case with Ukraine, Kyrgyzstan, and Ukraine has the case when when Ukraine compensated 27 million to Kyrgyzstan, for the trade issues. So the dispute settlement process is very important, which gives us actually good for the businesses, good platform for the disputes, and this is very international acceptable for each
multilateral
country.
trade
So
system.
we can use it, and this is useful. Master John.
Thank you, Muktar. Yeah, you have a great insights on the process.
And also add a few points from Azerbaijan perspective. I mean, we can all observe that over the past couple of years, the relationship between the state leaders is great. It's our partnership, our mutual investment between the all C+5 countries. All the head states were in Azerbaijan opening schools, for example, during the restoration of Karabakh process. There is also another connection with Turkish states, which is also unites majority of the countries. And obviously the main important is the economical aspects that we talk about today. These are the middle corridor routes. And it's all a signaling from the state to the private business that make mutual investment, go to new geographies. For example, like we'll go to Issyk-Kul tomorrow. Azerbaijan also builds a hotel complex there now. So, and then the similar mutual investments between other Central Asia countries. So I think it's a good opportunity for us using the CAMCA platform to leverage on that relationship and try to, build this partnership even stronger. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank our amazing speakers for the great statements and lively and very informative discussion. We truly believe that business has a great role to play to foster greater regional integration, recommend best policies and solutions to the governments of Central Asia. And paraphrasing the words of Dr. Starr, Central Asia is stronger together, and Central Asia has its own identity and can prosper as its own region and its own identity. So let's keep this vision, and let's work to make this vision happen and leverage joint partnership among the CAMCA network, United States government, this B5+1 platform, and any other platforms. Let's make it an effective tool and the dialogue platform towards Central Asia economic integration, economic prosperity, investment attractiveness. Thank you so much altogether. I would like to give a round of applause to our speakers and thank all of you for your attention.
We'd like to thank Sobir and this wonderful panel. We also want to acknowledge that CIPE is one of our forum sponsors this year, which we're very grateful for that support and partnership. We are going to break for coffee, and then we will be resuming for 2 parallel sessions at 11:15 a.m. There will be 2 back-to-back interviews in this room, and then we will also be in the 2nd floor where we were yesterday for those that joined the Afghanistan session for a CAMCA Women's Roundtable. A note that you need to use the elevators to the right here in order to access the 2nd floor. There is also a staircase if you prefer to take the stairs. So we will be resuming shortly at 11:15. Thank you so much.